Your anxious thoughts are literally lying to your face. And the worst part? You believe them. Every single time. That voice in your head sounds so confident, so certain, but it's running on distorted logic, not reality, and there's a tool that actually catches it in the act. It's called a thought record, and it comes from CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is one of the most researched approaches to anxiety on the planet, with hundreds of clinical trials backing it up, not just some wellness trend someone posted on Instagram. Here's what a thought record actually does. It slows down the runaway train in your brain and forces you to examine the evidence for and against your anxious thoughts, like a lawyer cross-examining a witness who's been lying on the stand the whole time. Most people try to fight anxiety by just telling themselves to calm down or think positive, but that almost never works because you haven't actually challenged the thought, you've just slapped a smiley face sticker over a cracked windshield and called it fixed. A thought record has 7 columns, and yes, 7 sounds like a lot, but you don't have to fill them all perfectly at first. Even using the first 3 consistently can start rewiring how your brain processes fear and uncertainty within a few weeks. Column 1 is the situation, just the plain facts of what happened, like a security camera recording with zero interpretation, no drama, no story, just, it was Tuesday, my boss emailed me, it said we need to talk. But here's where it gets wild. Most people skip straight past the situation and go directly to a conclusion, so they never even realize they've mixed up a fact with an assumption, and that one blind spot is the engine driving most anxiety spirals. Column 2 is emotions. You write down exactly what you felt and rate the intensity from 0 to 100, because naming emotions with that kind of precision actually reduces their power. And researchers at UCLA found that labeling feelings lowers activity in the amygdala, your brain's alarm system. Column 3 is your automatic thought, that immediate, unchecked sentence that fired off in your head the moment the situation happened. Something like I'm getting fired or they hate me or something is definitely wrong. And it usually feels 100% true in that moment. Automatic thoughts are sneaky because they're fast, they're automatic, hence the name, and they masquerade as obvious reality, but they're actually just interpretations, guesses, sometimes totally catastrophic leaps that your nervous system is treating like confirmed facts from a verified source. Column 4 is where you identify the cognitive distortion, the specific thinking error that's warping your perception, and CBT has identified over a dozen of them: catastrophizing, mind reading, all-or-nothing thinking, fortune-telling, personalization, just to name a few of the main culprits. Let's say your automatic thought was everyone thinks I'm an idiot after that meeting. That's mind reading. You don't actually have access to other people's thoughts, but your anxious brain just filed that guess as confirmed truth and started building a whole case on top of it. But here's a number that might stop you cold. Research suggests we have somewhere between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts per day, and studies estimate around 80% of them are negative, which means you're processing an almost constant stream of threat signals that mostly aren't real. Column 5 is evidence for the thought, and this is not where you skip ahead. This is important. You write down every real concrete piece of evidence that actually supports your anxious belief, because dismissing it completely doesn't work. You have to take it seriously first and look it in the eye. Column 6 is evidence against the thought, and this is usually the column that changes everything, because when you force yourself to write down actual facts that contradict your automatic thought, you start to see that the story your brain told you was missing half the information available. Going back to the "we need to talk" email, evidence for might be: my last project got some critical feedback, and I've been distracted lately. Real things, fair to acknowledge, but evidence against might be: my boss praised me in front of the team 2 weeks ago. I got a performance review last month with no red flags, and she emails "we need to talk" about routine check-ins all the time. But here's where it gets wild. Most people never do this because they assume the anxious interpretation is so obviously true that looking for counter-evidence feels pointless, but that assumption itself is the trap. It's the distortion protecting itself from being examined. Column 7 is the balanced thought, and this is not toxic positivity. It's not everything is fine, don't worry. It's a realistic, evidence-based restatement that holds both what might be true and what's probably not true. Something like this might be a hard conversation, but I don't have real evidence I'm being fired. After you write the balanced thought, you re-rate your emotion intensity, and most people are genuinely surprised. The anxiety that was sitting at an 85 out of 100 before working through the record often drops to a 40 or 50, not 0. Not pretending, just genuinely less overwhelming because the lie got called out. The first time you do a thought record, it will feel slow and clunky, like you're learning to drive stick shift in a parking lot, but that friction is the point. You're building a new neural pathway, and the awkward, careful pace is exactly what makes it stick long-term. You don't have to carry a journal everywhere. A lot of therapists now have clients use apps or even the Notes app on their phone, and some research suggests that typing a thought record works almost as well as handwriting it. What matters is that you actually do it and don't just think about doing it. Here's a surprising thing about timing. Thought records are most powerful when you do them within an hour or two of the anxious event, while the emotion is still present but not so overwhelming that you can't think clearly. Because if you wait too long, the feeling fades and you lose access to the automatic thought. But here's where it gets wild. You can also do thought records for emotions you haven't felt yet, meaning you can anticipate a situation that usually triggers you, like a difficult family dinner or a presentation at work, and pre-challenge the thoughts you know are going to show up before they have a chance to ambush you. Consistency is what transforms this from an interesting exercise into an actual shift in how your brain works. CBT studies typically show measurable changes in anxiety symptoms after 8 to 12 weeks of regular practice. And regular means several times a week, not once when you remember and feel motivated. Some people hit resistance around column 5 and 6 because acknowledging evidence against the thought can feel like gaslighting yourself, like you're minimizing something real. But the goal is never to invalidate your experience. It's to add the rest of the data your anxious brain strategically left out. One more thing that almost nobody talks about: thought records are also incredibly useful after an anxiety episode, not just during one, because going back and analyzing what triggered you, what the distortion was, and what a balanced response looked like helps you recognize the pattern faster next time it starts to build. Think of your thought record practice like building a database of your own anxiety patterns. Over weeks and months, you'll start to notice that you have maybe 3 or 4 recurring distortions that show up again and again. And once you see the pattern clearly, you catch it earlier and it has less runway to become a full spiral. There are free downloadable thought record worksheets all over the internet. Your therapist can give you one, and there are several solid CBT workbooks. The Feeling Good Handbook by David Burns is one of the most used ones in the world, but the format matters less than the habit of actually sitting down and doing the work regularly. Remember these 3 things. Automatic thoughts feel like facts, but they're interpretations. Thought records work by making you look at real evidence instead of just reacting to the story. And consistency over weeks is what actually rewires your anxiety response. Not one perfect session, just showing up repeatedly. What's one automatic thought that keeps coming back for you? The one that shows up every time a certain situation happens? Drop it in the comments, because you are definitely not the only one dealing with it. The first thing to understand about how to use a thought record for CBT is that the surface explanation is usually too simple. The real leverage is in the small, repeatable behavior underneath it, because that is what survives after motivation drops.